Hello, my friend. Welcome back. I hope you're well. So I'm Erin, and we're studying the book of Matthew, and we're diving into chapter 8 today. So let me recap real quick where we were last video. We were in chapter 7, and we completed the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus taught us that we should hold each other accountable, but gently, and yet know that we will be measured by that very same judgment. He taught us to pray for anything and all the time. He taught us that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, that He is the path to heaven, that there's no other way to heaven than through Jesus. He warned us about false prophets and told us to judge a person by the fruit that they bear. And He taught us to build our foundation on the rock, which is Jesus. Put your hope, faith, and trust in Him, and He will guide your entire life. All right, let's get in. Verse 1. When He had come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed Him. And behold, a leper came and worshipped Him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus put out His hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, See that you tell no one, but go your way. Show yourself to the priest and offer the gift that Moses commanded as a testimony to them. So the word leprosy in the Greek was used to describe several horrible diseases, and only some were contagious. But if you had the contagious type, a priest would declare you unclean and banish you from your home and your city. You would have to go live in a community of other people with the disease and either get better or die. But this man, however, he cries out to Jesus and he begs him to heal him. The man asks Jesus, if you are willing, and Jesus tells him, I am willing. And he touches him, giving no regard to the lesions on his skin, and he heals him immediately. Sin is also an incurable disease, and we all have the disease. And only Jesus and his healing touch can save us from that disease of sin. We cannot cure ourselves of our own sin, no matter how good we think we are. Jesus paid the price for our sins, and that is the only way to cleanse ourselves of it. The law, Leviticus 14, required a person healed of leprosy to be examined by the priest. Jesus told him to tell no one because he wanted this man to tell the priest directly, so the priest would hear it only from the man, so that he could be restored to his community. So let's move on. Verse 5. Now, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my servant, Do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to those who followed, Assuredly I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from east and west, and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go your way, and as you have believed, so let it be done for you." And his servant was healed that same hour. Now, the centurion, he could have had many doubts in Jesus. He could have let his pride or money or just language, race, the distance, any number of things could have stood between him and belief in Jesus' power here. But he didn't. A centurion was a career military officer. He's in the Roman army. And the Jews, they hated these people. The soldiers, they tended to mistreat Jews. They oppressed them and even ridiculed them. Now, if you remember, Jesus taught us at the Sermon on the Mount that many would be in the wide path of not having faith in Jesus. Yet this centurion did, a Roman soldier. And how did Jesus treat this Roman soldier? He honored this man's faith at a time when many religious Jewish people and leaders were completely denying Jesus was the Messiah. Here's this Roman soldier who believes in him and says, merely speak the word, Lord, and he'll be healed. And he's asking him to heal his servant, not his child or his wife, his servant. So this is obviously, a good man. And it says, when Jesus heard this, he marveled and said, "I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel." This is showing us faith in Jesus and Jesus honoring that faith has nothing to do with following some religion. Jesus is the way. Belief in him is the faith. And faith in Jesus is for everyone. No one is exempt from following Jesus, and no one is exempt from Jesus honoring that faith in him. Having Christian parents or a Christian spouse, that's wonderful, but it does not guarantee your place in heaven. This is up to you. By your own free will you have faith in Jesus? All right. Verse 14. Now when Jesus had come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother lying sick with a fever. So he touched her hand, and the fever left her. And she arose and served them. When evening had come, they brought to him many who were demon-possessed. And he cast out the spirits with a word, and healed all who were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, "He himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses." So, Peter's mother-in-law's response to Jesus healing her is a testimony to how we all should respond to Jesus' wonderful love and his miraculous cleansing of all of us. We should rise up and begin to serve him, just as Peter's mother-in-law did. God is our Father, and we inherit the wonderful rewards in heaven for eternity. We should honor that gift by serving him today and every day going forward. Here we learn about the true power and kingly nature of Jesus. He was healing with one word, one touch, casting out demons and miraculously healing ailments Nothing was off limits for, or even a challenge for him. It proves he is the creator and in complete control of all things. Jesus conquered sin on the cross. He paid the price with his blood, and we are saved from sin because of it. Sickness and evil are consequences of this fallen world, and Jesus has power over all of it. The way that Jesus healed when he was here on earth is a depiction of what heaven will be like. No more sickness or death. No more sin. No more evil. But following Jesus comes with a price. So, let's look at verse 18. And when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave a command to depart to the other side. Then a certain scribe came and said to him, Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go. And Jesus said to him, Foxes have holes, and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Then another of his disciples said to him, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. But Jesus said to him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their own dead. Following Jesus is not always easy or comfortable. It often comes at a great price and with great sacrifice, with no earthly rewards or security. Jesus didn't have a place to call home. Following him may cost you friendships and relationships. It may cost you your leisure time or habits you enjoy. But we have him. He calls us his friend, and he will never leave you. And your rewards in heaven are incredible and also eternal. So this disciple was putting off following Jesus until his elderly father passes away. Maybe he's the firstborn son and he wants his inheritance. Maybe he didn't want to face the wrath of his father by leaving the family to follow some strange preacher. Whatever his reason, he was not ready to commit to Jesus. But like everything, Jesus uses this as an example for all the world to see when they read this book. The man wasn't ready to commit to Jesus. But by Jesus' response, we learn that Jesus does not accept his excuse. As the Son of God, Jesus commands complete loyalty. Even loyalty to your family does not take precedence over your loyalty and obedience to Jesus. He brings to the forefront and shines light on your priorities. The decision to follow him should not be put off. It needs to be the most urgent thing in your life. Nothing should be placed above total commitment to living for him. Let's look at verse 23. Now when he got into a boat, his disciples followed him. And suddenly a great tempest arose on the sea, so that the boat was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. Then his disciples came to him and awoke him, saying, Lord, save us, we are perishing. But he said to them, Why are you fearful, O you of little faith? And he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was a great calm. So the men marveled, saying, Who can this be, that even the winds and the sea obey him? Now, these are his disciples. They're mostly fishermen. They felt at home on the Sea of Galilee. They felt at home in a boat, I would assume. Also, very familiar with the Sea of Galilee. Yet this storm pops up, and it's large, and it frightened them. But as grown men in a large boat for fishing and in their familiar territory, this storm must have been big. It says the waves covered the boat. And it must have come on quickly, to put fear in them like that. They probably felt vulnerable and, in danger. Yet Jesus is sleeping right through it, not bothered at all. Well, they had just witnessed Jesus performing all these miracles. Yet in the storm, they panic, even though they have Jesus in the boat. But what they didn't know at that time was that Jesus could control the forces of nature. We encounter storms in our lives, and some storms seem so big, we think God can't or won't control it. This is why we need to truly understand who God is. And like always, I commend you for studying God's Word, because there's nothing more important than knowing His Word and having that sword as your weapon throughout life. He controls the storms in nature as well as in our hearts when they're troubled. Jesus easily had control of that storm, and He easily has control of the problems in our lives as well. Jesus is there to help us and to stand with us. We need only to ask. Never discount the power of Jesus. All right, let's look at the last verses. Verse 28. When he had come to the other side, to the country of the Gergesenes, there met him 2 demon-possessed men, coming out of the tombs, exceedingly fierce, so that no one could pass that way. And suddenly they cried out, saying, What have we to do with you, Jesus, you Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time? Now, a good way off from them there was a herd of many swine feeding. So the demons begged him, saying, If you cast us out, permit us to go into the herd of swine. And he said to them, Go. So when they had come out, they went into the herd of swine, and suddenly the whole herd of swine ran violently down the steep place into the sea, and perished in the water. Then those who kept them fled, and they went away into the city and told everything, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they begged him to depart from their region. All right, so, these guys are demon-possessed. And if you don't know, people who are possessed by demons, they can be possessed by one or they can be possessed by many. Demons are fallen angels. They joined up with Satan and his rebellion against God. And now they are evil spirits and they're under Satan's control. They help Satan to tempt people to sin. And they have great destructive powers. But when they are confronted by Jesus, they lose their power. You see how plainly the demons recognize Jesus as God's Son. Also, the demon says, Have you come here to torment us before the time? The demons know there is a time coming. As we learn about in Revelation chapter 20, that the end of the world will come. The devil and presumably all of his fallen angels will be thrown into the lake of fire. When the demon asked about the appointed time, the demons and Satan are fully, obviously aware God will judge them in the future. So now this situation, the demons asked to be put in the pigs, and they run the pigs into the sea. So if they couldn't destroy the men, they were going to destroy the animals. But in contrast, Jesus was saving the men. He made this trip over to these men specifically and save them from these demons. Jesus will not forget even one soul. He places value on every single soul. And now, because there was this herd of pigs in this area, you know this is a Gentile area. Jews believed pigs were unclean and therefore would not raise a herd of pigs. So why did these people ask Jesus to leave in that very last verse? Because this was an area of Gentiles, not Jews. They believed in pagan gods. But Jesus, they could tell, was different. He could not be contained. He could not be controlled. He could not be appeased. They feared Jesus' supernatural powers, a power they had never witnessed, not worshiping pagan gods. And they were more upset about losing a herd of pigs than gaining the deliverance of these demon-possessed men. God created us in His image. There is nothing more important to Him than saving us from this evil world. Put your trust in Jesus. He loves you. Well, that's chapter 8. And so in chapter 9, Jesus is going to prove to us some more His power and authority over this world and all the things in it. God bless you. I love you. See you next time.